Wunderschönen guten Tag zusammen, hallo und herzlich willkommen bei einem neuen React hier auf PSW TV.
Hallo.
Heute mit Sebastian, Dennis, Jonathan und mir. Und wir haben uns gefragt, beziehungsweise MarvCube hat vorgeschlagen, wir sollen uns doch mal so einen Experten angucken. Und der guckt sich die Tarkov-Waffen an und wie der ganze Spaß denn überhaupt realistisch ist oder nicht.
Okay.
Und
Interesting.
mal gucken, was dabei jetzt bei rumkommt.
Vorzeige-Texaner.
Also ihr könnt alle pausieren.
This is Jonathan Ferguson, the keeper of firearms and artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses
Warte,
a
warte,
collection
warte.
of thousands
Kein
of
Texaner.
Ich bin gerade am Überlegen, ob man für den Text hier Untertitel anmacht. Oder ist das zu krass?
Ja, vielleicht schon.
Na, gucken wir mal.
This is John, and today he's going to be breaking down the guns of Escape from Tarkov, just to see how accurate the game's arsenal is portrayed.
Hey, der hat die doch gerade
Spoiler
beide
alert,
weggerödelt.
he's pretty impressed.
So we've got the Makarov. The sound effects are probably the best I've heard.
Let us know if there are any other games, guns or mechanics you want Jonathan to break down in the comments section down below.
Ja, Battlefield 4 auf jeden Fall.
Tarkov fühlt sich ja auch realistisch an, ne?
Ja,
das weiß ich nicht.
Auch allein, dass du die ganzen Teile so verändern kannst, das ist halt ultra realistisch.
Ich weiß nur, dass mir bei Tarkov extrem um den Sack geht, dass die Waffen die ganze Zeit am Wackeln sind. Auch für, also gerade beim Zielen. Das ist so unfassbar ätzend.
Brauchst du mehr Ergo? Hast du immer mehr Ärger.
Ja, normalerweise mag ich diese Bolt-Action-Rifles total gerne in Spielen. In Tarkov hasse ich die wie die Pest.
Okay, krass.
This video. All right, here's Jonathan's take on Escape from Tarkov.
Wow. This is the first I'm seeing of Tarkov. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, that it has a lot of realism in its depiction of firearms. And just from that short clip, right away, I can see what they're talking about. So we've got the Makarov or Makarov, very much a Cold War pistol, very much a sidearm. It's not really a combat weapon, although people with the training can obviously use it that way. And it's really nicely modeled. The sound effects are probably the best I've heard just from that short clip.
Wieso schießt der andere da nicht zurück?
Sounds like a gun being fired in a building.
Die schießen mir immer direkt
I
in
don't
den
know how
Kopf.
much it changes as you move in and out of space.
Das wurde doch extra aufgenommen im
The way
Private.
it's handled is really cool. The brass check, the press check that he does to make sure that it's chambered around. Bit of a modern thing, but it is done and it is in there, and you get to see the cartridge in the gun. The only thing that threw me off initially was the wacky drum magazine, which I am not familiar with as being a real thing, and I can't imagine why it would be a real thing. As far as I know, there isn't a drum mag for a Makarov. Perhaps someone can prove me wrong. But I really like what I'm seeing so far.
Voll geil. Ja, da kannst du so abgehen.
Pausing. Okay, I'm even more impressed now. The one thing that I thought was a bit wacky with the drum magazine, the logic, or the lack of logic there, would be that it makes it very heavy and uncontrollable. The physics of all that would mean that the muzzle would wobble about as you're trying to shoot it. And that's exactly what we see happen, which I'm really impressed by. That's a really nice mixture of unreality in using a drum magazine with a pistol, which is uncommon, and absolute attention.
Voll geil, wie der das analysiert.
Ja,
nice.
Das ist wirklich
how it's
cool.
fired. I've not really seen that done in that way before. The other thing I really like is the depiction of muzzle flashes. Depending on where you are in the environment and whether the gases that have been produced on firing happen to reignite or not, which is the main cause of muzzle flash, this is a realistic depiction. So a lot of shots you see fired are nothing but smoke. And then on some shots, in some light conditions, you get more of a classic.
Alter, hat da irgendwer schon mal drauf geachtet, dass nicht jedes Mal Feuer daraus kommt? Das ist mir noch nie aufgefallen.
Ja, auch noch nicht. Ich schieße auch nicht mit der Makarov.
Ja, aber das ist so bei anderen Waffen bestimmt auch. Das ist ja krass. Okay. Na gut.
Muzzle flash. So there's an awful lot of attention to detail here.
Jo, P90.
Pausing. So the gun we're looking at here is, of course, the P90. Really nicely done again. I'm often obsessing about rates of fire when I'm looking at stuff like this, and that looks to be spot on. Sounds great, looks great. We've got, I think, the base model of P90 as I have behind me somewhere with the ring sights optic on it from the early 90s. And this has got side rails fitted to it, allowing the accessories that we see, including the green visible laser.
Ja, mega nice.
Ja, voll cool. Wer abgeht, feiere ich mega.
Ja.
So this being a thoroughly Russian game, it's not at all surprising that a lot of what we see is are firearms of Russian or old Soviet origin, and the AS Val makes a lot of sense in this.
Ja, aber die AS Val,
all the time.
also die AS Val ist aber auch, habe ich das Gefühl, in fast jedem Spiel drin.
Ja. Ist Battlestates ein russisches Unternehmen? Ich dachte, das wäre...
Nee, aber Tarkov ist ja.
Also Nikita ist Russe.
Nikita ist Russe, ja, okay.
Dann
Die ist auch immer schallgedämpft in
Ist ja
den
auch
Spielen automatisch, ne? Die AS
Ich glaube, die entwickeln mittlerweile auch teilweise in Großbritannien oder sowas. Also das ist mittlerweile nicht mehr nur Russisch.
And to aid that, it's firing a very interesting cartridge. It's subsonic, so it won't make that crack as it leaves the muzzle. Inevitably, everything's a trade-off. So just like as with the American equivalent, 300 Whisper or 300 Blackout, you get reduced penetration. And the beauty of this game is that you can swap out different ammunition types, which will allow you to tweak that compromise between effectively stopping power and quietness. But given that you are skulking around in a sort of post-industrial landscape, trying not to die, a very quiet weapon that is automatic and, relatively speaking, has good penetration is going to be sought after. And I suspect it will be in the game as well.
blockt er seine Waffe?
Ah ja,
ja. War der vorher unverwundbar?
So we've just seen our unfortunate player there run out of ammunition. That quiet click must be the loudest click in the world in real life when that happens. What happens amusingly is the two actually interact in sort of virtual space. Usually with the game, the emitter of your bullets would just click through, or your bullets would be stopped by the model in front of you, but it wouldn't be a realistic interaction. But interestingly, what we see there is the shotgun that the guy's trying to kill him with gets pushed against his body and can't effectively finish him off. At least he might have hit him, but he can't be finished off. And he's able to then pull out an entrenching tool, beat the guy to death. So something new.
Das ist aber tatsächlich, also zwar auch in anderen Spielen drin, aber das ist mir in Tarkov schon auch aufgefallen, die Positionierung der Waffe zu ihrer
Umgebung.
Genau, zur Umgebung ist halt echt wichtig. Ja. Also nicht nur, ob du jetzt vor irgendwem stehst oder auch vor Gegenständen. Es kann auch sein, dass dein Lauf so viel niedriger ist als dein Visier, dass du halt gegen das Objekt schießt, obwohl du eigentlich drüber guckst.
Ja.
Und also
Da habe ich einen Entwickler mal zugesehen, der das mal analysiert hat. Ist ein Tarkov ist eins der wenigen Spiele, wo die Kugel animiert aus dem Lauf rauskommt.
Wird?
Bei den
nicht
meisten,
aus dem Visier?
Genau, also bei den meisten Spielen zum Beispiel ist es so wie bei Overwatch zum Beispiel, da kommt eine Animationskugel aus dem Lauf raus. Die ist aber egal, dass das, wenn du so halb an Ecken noch vorbeischießen kannst, weißt du, weil der Winkel der Waffe scheißegal ist, die Kugel kommt genau in der Mitte des Bildschirms raus. Und bei Tarkov kommt aber auch die Hit-Count-Kugel auch aus der Waffe.
Ah.
Ja.
So I've not
realistischer.
seen in a video game before in terms of how people and weapons interact in the physical space. Both the firearms and the guns are firing where they're pointed. They don't magically snap to the aiming point and put a bullet out in the same direction they always would. They fire where they're pointed, which shows how well everything is modeled. Pausing. That's a really nice AK. It's the AK-101, part of the 100 series Kalashnikov. Very, very well depicted, I think. Good rate of fire, good model, good textures, all the right features are on there. Well modeled in semi-automatic mode. It's climbing too much in automatic. Slightly frustrated to see that, because that muzzle brake that's on the end of this series of rifles is tremendously effective. Now, if you're loosely holding it, yeah, it probably will still climb vertically, but a trained person, or even the likes of me, can hold a weapon like that on target, on automatic, and it will pretty much just sit there. The downside is that the guys to the left and right of you get deafened if they're not wearing hearing protection, because the blast is going out sideways and to the rear to pull the gun forward against recoil.
Das ist irgendwie smart.
Ja gut, okay, das ist natürlich nicht realistisch.
Pausing. Well, there's your problem. It was going so well until we saw the stock being folded up. Now, firstly, I should say, brilliant to see the stock actually getting folded up. So to have it modeled at all is really impressive. Whereas with this magazine on, it's not really a problem. We take that off and we fit the RPK drum magazine that we've just seen fitted in the game.
Ja, das passt jetzt natürlich nicht.
You've seen the problem already. The folding stock just clips through the drum magazine. So I'm sure this being a game that's not that's still in progress, I'm sure they're going to address that because it sticks out a bit like a sore thumb when you see it happen.
Wie er immer da mitfiebert bei den Schüssen. Ja.
Okay, you're going to pause there. I keep talking about gameplay rather than guns, but I'm just very impressed with all of it, really. But like most first-person shooters, it doesn't really matter what you shoot someone with, unless it's modeling like a 50 BMG or something, and there's some graphic effect on the target, and they ragdoll 50 feet away or something like that. Normally, the injury or death animation is fairly consistent, and it's sometimes a bit underwhelming. This game seems to, it knows what weapon you're shooting, what ammunition is loaded in it, and what effect that's having on the enemy. Something like this SV98, powerful cartridge, 7.62x54 again, the Russian sort of long-range cartridge effectively now, and that has a lot of punch. So that's why we see what we see when the guy goes tumbling out the tower, and people just drop like a stone when they're shot in the head with this thing.
Da achtet man nicht drauf, wenn du das spielst.
Pausing there. The TOZ bolt-action shotgun that we see here is definitively a civilian weapon. Bolt-action shotguns are not particularly common. They have the downside of being slow to operate. There's usually a better way to do it, be it pump action, lever action even, or a self-loading design. It's an interesting one. It makes sense in this context and looks appropriately sort of apocalyptic. So I can see why it's in the game. I'm not sure how popular it is in the game. A 20 gauge shotgun is not as good as a 12 gauge shotgun, broadly speaking.
Das ist die Flash.
We've got another uniquely Russian weapon in this uniquely Russian game, the KS-23, and it's this unusual 23mm cartridge type with quite a range of different ammunition. And we see two different types here. We've got that ear-ringing flashbang round. That's very interesting in terms of gameplay. Normally you'd have to throw a grenade to have that effect. The other cartridge we see used here, I gather, is effectively a buckshot type conventional shotgun round. Unusually for a video game, it's used at quite some distance. I don't know what real-world distance that equated to that we saw there, but the ability to shoot
das machen die Scavs auch. Shotgun auf die Distanz, kein Problem.
Going right back to Doom 2 with the super shotgun. Shotguns are this bizarre, devastating effect out to about 5 meters or something, and then just suddenly it's like Neo in the Matrix just stops the pellets in midair and they drop to the ground or have no real effect. Real life's not like that. Buckshot at sort of beyond 25-ish meters is perhaps questionable in terms of will you hit them and will the pattern cause enough damage to drop an enemy.
Aha, das heißt, als mich der Scav also über 150 Meter mit einem Packshot geheadshottet hat, hätte ich die einfach aus der Luft wissen können.
Ja, das war einfach ein ganz ärgerlicher Zufall, Bram.
Aber die Frage besteht ja schon, also ich finde, er sagt das halt genau richtig, ne? Also die Dinger fallen ja nicht nach 5 Metern auf den Boden. Also.
Streuen halt nur so immens, ne?
Ja, genau.
Vielleicht hat die Rückennot.
Especially if they're wearing armor. Nonetheless, you can hit a man-sized target at that distance, and probably at the distance that we saw there. And even if you hit them with 2 or 3 of the pellets, they're probably going to be seriously reconsidering their options at that point.
Das finde ich ja eine nice Ausdrucksweise. Reconsidering their options.
Pausing. Yeah, I didn't realize they'd modeled Nerf guns in Tarkov as well as real ones. Because for an M4, this is not very effective. So what's actually happened in that clip there is the guy is shrugging off shots, and it's not necessarily reflecting the capability of the weapon or the ammunition. As in the real world, it depends where you're hit. very much. How much adrenaline is in the system, how motivated you are, perhaps people are on drugs even, all of which affects how you respond to a gunshot wound. On the face of it, seeing this guy get hit multiple times, I'd expect him to respond visibly to being hit in some way, and he doesn't, so I'm not sure about that. But the fact that he can carry on fighting until the last shot hits something critical is absolutely realistic.
Wait. Ist absolutely realistic? Okay.
Ja, also, dass du halt erstmal so voll Adrenalin bist, dass du zwar Schmerzen hast und dein Arm getroffen ist, aber du halt tendenziell erstmal
weiter. Also bei mir sind die Arme immer ab und dann schieße ich noch mit meiner Waffe. Oder meine Beine sind beide weg und dann laufe ich noch weg.
Ja, aber du hast ultra krasse Schmerzen.
Ja.
Oder bist ultra langsam. Aber du bist halt nicht direkt tot oder, weiß nicht, kannst nicht mehr laufen.
Ja, weil das halt ein interessanter Tarkov darauf setzt, dass du halt was Kritisches treffen musst, damit der umfällt. Also klar, du kannst natürlich lange noch in die Arme schießen, irgendwann kippst du auch um. Aber dem wird schon Rechnung getragen.
Ja, das stimmt.
The rifle itself looks to be well modeled. Our player here has really tricked it out.
Da ist doch echt alles dran an der Knifte gerade, oder?
People like the AR-15 platform for the ability to accessorize. Depending on their level of training, they will often pile accessories onto these guns to the point where they become cumbersome and a little bit ridiculous. And this being a realistic game, I suspect the handling characteristics do suffer when you've got every accessory under the sun attached to your rifle.
Ja, ist leider so.
MP5.
Right, the MP5, I'd be disappointed if there wasn't an MP5 in this game. Classic gun, one of my favorites. This sort of check animation that you see there, where the magazine's taken out and you see the round in the top of the mag. Very minor detail, but it looks like it's modeled as a single column, or rather a single feed at the top. And actually, if you look into a loaded MP5 magazine, you can see the round next to it, because they sit side by side. Partly what makes it a very good magazine. Incredibly minor detail, considering that not many years ago, we've got first-person shooters where there are no bullets visible in the magazine. This is well modeled, but I think the very next level of precision might be to more accurately depict the rounds in the magazine.
Ja, also das geht auch gar nicht, Leute, tut mir leid.
Yo!
Alter!
Okay, I feel like I'm being trolled here, because the MP5 has suddenly been customized to death as well. It's got everything under the sun on it. We've got an EOTech sight, we've got an EOTech magnifier, we've got a laser light module, some sort of foregrip, modular forend to take all of that, and I think I saw a drum magazine as well, possibly a different stock. So just illustrating the lengths that one can go to. But just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Aber warum nicht? Läuft doch.
Thank you so much for watching. It's been a breakdown of the weapons and the ammunition of Escape from Tarkov, and I am thoroughly impressed. So I hope to see you again in a future video. If you would like to, we have got a link to donate to the Royal Armouries. It's difficult times at the moment for museums. It will help us continue to make videos with our friends at GameSpot. No pressure at all, but if you feel that you can, would like to, please do donate.
Okay.
Sehr cool. Ja, krass. Cool. Das war wirklich interessant, so das mal sich so anzugucken.
Fand ich auch sehr interessant. Also ich habe ganz am Anfang zwar irgendwie gedacht, die würden die Waffen so vergleichen, als dass er das Spiel nimmt und dann irgendwie auch visuell und also audiovisuell einfach die Waffe schießt. Aber ich fand es schon cool, wie er es immer analysiert hat.
Ja, das auch wie die Waffen sich verhalten in echt und wie im Spiel ist schon interessant.
Zeigt nochmal den Ausnahmezustand von Tarkov, was dieses Spiel halt drauf hat.
Es ist halt überhaupt nicht casual dadurch, ne? Dadurch ist halt
vieles hardcore
so
realistisch,
wie in Wirklichkeit halt auch.
Ja, MavCube, vielen Dank für diesen Vorschlag. Das
Dankeschön.
war Firearms Expert Reacts to Escape from Tarkov's Guns. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und bis morgen.
Ja.
Tschüss.